Waiting for the... I know. Well, as that's happening, good evening. Okay, now we're good. Good evening. I'd like to call this regular Board of Finance meeting for Monday, November 18th, 2024 to order, which is also, as I understand, is one of our members, our illustrious members' birthdays. Thank you for joining us tonight and not doing something else. So,
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We could all sing, but probably wouldn't like that. So I just spent a little bit of time with my granddaughter just now, so I'm sure she would have enjoyed it, but it's not her birthday, so we're going to just move on. But thank you, Amy, for being here on your birthday, because you had a pass, but you're here. So, what was that? No, you don't.
I didn't know that.
I didn't think I had to tell you. Next year, yeah, well, it might not fall.
It won't.
It probably won't. Anyway, happy birthday. So agenda, public forum, item number 1. Anybody wishing to address the Board of Finance in public forum? Seeing none, go to item number 2, approve minutes of our regular meeting. Minutes of October 21st, 2024. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, do I hear any revisions or corrections? I had one, and I don't know whether it's more of a just for record or not, but I know at times during our meetings virtually it can be somewhat difficult to hear, and I just thought maybe we should indicate which board members maybe were on virtually, so in case there's any issue, because I know everybody was here, but there were a few that were not able to make it. So I know that virtually Bob, Megan, and Amy were on virtually. I think it's just fair to say that you were not here in person. So if there was anything that you may not have, during the meeting minutes or meeting didn't interpret correctly. And then I'll just run through on page 1. I'm going to steal his thunder. Second paragraph under approve minutes of regular meeting. Mr. Beatty is missing a T. Sorry, Jeff. I know you wanted to say that, but
I've been trying to lose weight, so it's okay.
Well, it always takes, could take just a T. That's all. Okay, that's a question I have later on. And maybe that was it. Anybody else?
Page 1, the
yes.
meeting was called to order at 7:33 p.m.
Yes. Okay.
I have one on page 2.
Sure.
In section 4, the second paragraph, kind of in the middle, the sentence that starts, they have hired an outside firm to look at their costs, and if, I think it should be, and if the outside firm determines that the Board of Education has been charged more than it should have, the Board of Education will get money back.
That was an item I actually circled for status, but I was going to wait for the Board of Education report regarding that outside firm looking at the Eversource. We could hold that until your report.
And then just kind of following up on that, on the next page, third paragraph down, last sentence of that third paragraph, Ms. Trudeau said that they do not get paid if they don't find anything, meaning the outside consulting firm doesn't get paid. And the Board of Ed obviously wouldn't get paid anything either if nothing's found, but the consulting firm's working on a contingency basis. And then on page 5, section 6, the third paragraph, where we're talking about the memo, in the middle it says the sentence that starts at the end of the third line, that leaves up to $2 million available to, I think it's to committed funds for future projects rather than committee funds for future projects. And then
where are you, Jeff?
I'm sorry.
Third paragraph, page 5, item 6, third paragraph.
Thank you.
Kind of right in the middle of that paragraph.
You need us to speak up a little bit, Veronica?
Sorry, Veronica.
That's okay, thank you.
Okay.
And then on page 6, on the motion at the top of the page, that missing T is there again.
You're doing a good job on that.
I'm really trying.
Jonathan is also trying, because on page 4, it's just, the motion is made by Mr. Trott. I think there's an A missing. Just saw that.
That's all I
that tonight.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything further? Okay, otherwise call question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed, abstentions? Great, thank you. Item number 3, correspondence, Standing Building Committee minutes. Chairman DeMayo emailed me over the weekend saying he was not going to be able to join us tonight. We do have 2 sets of minutes. Let me see if I had, there was one set that I did have something on I wanted to either ask. It was not the first one I could, yeah. October, for anybody have anything on October 1st? Any questions? Jonathan, you look like you're
Got a
about
question on
to.
the second set too. Probably same
Okay.
same thing you're thinking usually.
Well, let's see. On the second one, okay, on the second one, we don't have necessarily jurisdiction of corrections on these minutes, but on the first page, item 6, update on community center elevator, fire alarm, and HVAC projects. At the bottom, in the second paragraph, says, in response to a question by David DeMayo, Mr. Rake noted the decision to move to the second bidder has been cleared by the Board of Finance and Town Council. I do not recall the Board of Finance clearing that. I'm wondering if it should be Board of Selectmen, which would make sense. But I don't remember the Board of Finance being asked or clearing the fact that the second bidder got it. I understand why the first bidder did not comply. No, it wasn't a compliance issue. It was that they didn't accept the contract. But the second bidder was accepted, but for an additional cost of $30,000. But I don't remember that coming to the Board of Finance. Board of Selectmen.
Board of Selectmen.
So that's just. So I will bring that to David's attention as a correction for the next meeting minutes, just to make sure, because it should be, corrected for Board of Selectmen. I didn't have anything else. Jonathan, what was your?
So that it was that same item, but
Yeah.
just going a little bit further. I was kind of curious, what is it about the town contract that made somebody get scared or back out? Because it did cost us theoretically $30,000 that they couldn't agree with the contract. So I don't know. Is it a question for Matt or maybe Mr. DeMayo?
The primary contact was looking for indemnification from one of the subcontractors that they had indicated they were going to hire, and would not agree to waive that. So we went back and forth probably 4 months on this, 4 or 5 months, involving outside counsel, Jeff D'Onofrio. He was not going to accept the terms of the contract, and so we decided to move on.
I couldn't quite hear the front end of that. So he wanted to hire a subcontractor?
No, he had subs. He had subs. There were subs on this job, but he wanted them to indemnify the primary contractor against any malfunctions in the equipment, which the subcontractor couldn't do. That should have fallen to the contractor.
Okay, so that was the issue.
It was his bid.
Yeah, because our contract is with the contractor, not the subcontractors.
Right.
Okay.
Indemnification is a common issue with contracts, and that one, to me, that's a no-brainer. That should go directly with the contractor, not the sub. So actually, it's a good thing. But it's a really good question, because I thought I wondered the same thing.
I was curious about another section. I think it was the second page, item 9, the Adams Middle School Stream Project. They're alluding to like a second phase to build something to collect water in the south of the school. And I was curious, is that going to be on the school property? Does anyone know a little more detail on that? I guess I was hoping the drainage
Which-
project as is would resolve the issues.
Linda, are you aware?
So the area further south is part of, well, behind Adam's property. They determined, and let me see if I can get this right. They're going to open up the stream behind Adams to hopefully get a better flow. But they're going to be looking at a phase 2 next year and something with a larger ponding area even further south than that, so that they would have almost a pond and better movement of water through that whole area. So there's a bigger project that could be happening after we do this part now.
There's like there's a phase 1 remediation, to like temporary fix, and there's a long-term fix. Right. I don't know the details of it, but I do know that for as long as I've been involved in this town, the flooding at the south part of Adams has been a major issue for years and years and years, and this is going to correct it. And it's not just, I mean, it's more for the neighbors, I believe, than it is for Adams. I mean, the school can deal with it, but it's the neighbors that are experiencing the difficulty. So, but that phase 2 still needs to be designed, and I believe it still needs to be bonded. So it needs to be requested to go. I don't, let me just look real quick. Phases 2 and 3 will involve the creation of a larger capacity area. The part of the project will need to obtain Corps of Engineers approval and will be proposed as a bonded project. So,
Phases 2 of the education site within the budget.
I don't know if that phase 2 and 3 have been bonded. We could probably very easily go back to last month and look at our bonded, capital bonded projects. And I'm sure Mary Jane's probably already done that, so.
I'm turning my computer on.
Okay, but we could look at that and see. Otherwise, regardless, it's a bonded project. So it's either been approved or it's going to need to be approved by taxpayers as a project this coming spring.
But I think the gist of it is, we could solve the problem at Adams, but we'd be creating a problem for the folks further south because it's now flowing through at a faster rate.
I was curious about that as well.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, regardless, that they needed it dry enough to even look at phase 1, so now. It's been nothing but dry, so.
They're going to be filing for phase 2 next year.
Okay.
And with possibility of a bond project. Phase 3 for larger ponding wetlands area.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't started phase 2 yet. That would be just starting the engineering and design. And I believe that would also include bringing in the Army Corps of Engineers in that phase.
I'm sure we could even get more information next month regarding that. Anything else? No? No? Anything else on the November 5th building committee minutes?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
I was looking for more of an explanation on item number 7 regarding the security enhancement at Calvin Lee.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm looking for clarification. Like when they scoped this project, they didn't know that there were going to be certain areas that they couldn't hear. I mean, it's a security enhancement, so I'm asking maybe for the next meeting if we can get a better idea of what the issues were there.
Basically, why the dead areas were not found.
Were not identified when they walked the project.
I don't know.
I mean, it's a security enhancement. They're talking about dead areas where they can't hear announcements, alarms, communications once the security doors are closed. And there are a number of dead areas, including storage rooms, bathrooms, boiler room. I mean, it seems to me like those are obvious areas that you would want to make sure that you could hear. And I don't understand why it wasn't scoped better, I guess.
Yeah, fair question. I will, again, same thing. We could ask Chairman DeMayo next month, and I will send him, I'll send him an email regarding the discussion tonight. So he'll be ready for it.
Item number 11 too too, it looks like for the cell repeaters. It says that there should be reports show improved coverage and improved signal strength, but they're gonna follow through to see if improvements are sufficient and if additional work is needed.
Mhm.
So would we be able to get an update on if there's additional work needed?
I'm sure we will next
Okay.
month. I'm sure that will automatically be, but I could-
Okay.
same thing, I could just ask the question. You know, it's easy enough to just send correspondence, say these are the concerns from the meeting minutes.
Yeah.
They can make sure they're addressed next month.
Or if they want to
Okay.
just put the report in the minutes. It says they have a report.
I'm sure they could probably summarize it.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on standing building? Item number 2, pension committee minutes. There's a draft for October 16th and the special meeting minutes of October 24th. Anything on either one of those? Or the investment report for that matter?
I'll just point out, they always had a belief in small caps, and that came in well in that period.
Looks like a good month.
For the time being. Yeah. Anything on OPEB? Item number 3, sorry. And if hearing nothing on pension, then move on to item number 4, review and accept the report of expenditures of the Board of Education for October 2024. Linda Trudeau. Good evening. And Board Member Kristen Peck.
Hi.
Hi. How are you, Kristen?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Perfectly fine.
Okay. Super. You guys are all very small. I can't tell who's who. Okay. So financials for October 2024. Expenditures for the month of October were $5,525,504.89, which puts us at pretty much exactly where we were last year, 30.35% of the budget as compared to 30.10% of the budget last year. Revenue for October was $118,085, which includes a bit from Medicaid, a bit from non-resident tuition, $13,000 for tuition from Clinton, $23,500 from pre-K tuition, and then somewhat more interestingly, $78,000 for the paraeducator deductible assurance program, which isn't necessarily revenue that we're getting. We are acting more as a pass-through for a state-funded program where they give us funds and then we distribute those funds to our paraeducators since they are among the lowest paid in the district across the state to help with their medical costs. So it's something that would go directly toward their deductibles to help those families out. Salaries, we are exactly where we were last year. Purchased services was also somewhat interesting this month. We talked a little bit about, I guess you guys discussed it last month. There was $49,000 for the efficiency evaluation that we're starting. So that's the encumbrance in the electricity line is for the retro commissioning program for the high school to start evaluating the efficiency there now that the school is 10 years old. Tuition, I'm not going to talk about too much because Linda still wants us to cross our fingers, but we're doing okay with tuition so far. Supplies and materials, we are about where we were last year. Let's see, transportation, we are a bit higher than last year. I don't know if anyone has particular questions for us. There were a couple of other points of interest in the warrant. The total for all payments of the month is $2,481,583.86. Anything that came up in the warrant that you'd like to ask me and Linda about?
Well, let's, thank you, Kristen. Let's start with, really quickly, the financial report. I had one question on the revenue. The 13,000 tuition from Clinton, is that for a special education program or something? Okay.
Yeah, for a student attending.
I just wanted, I figured tuition, but okay, so it's for a student, okay. You answered the question I had about the commissioning program. I figured that was for the energy or electricity efficiency
Yes.
Study that I guess we're doing.
Right.
Anything else on the financial report that anyone had questions on?
Are we paying for life insurance and disability in a different way? Is that why it was 0 and it was broken
No.
out differently now?
No, we just hadn't received any of the bills, so we just paid 4 months of bills all at once. Just we hadn't received
Last
them.
year's bill this year?
No, it was July, August, September, and October's were all paid. It's on the warrant on page.
It says it's a timing issue.
Yeah. Yeah, so this time last year, we just hadn't
Yeah, on
received
page,
the invoices this
on
time we
page
did.
10 of the warrant, there's 4 payments to Lena, and that is for the life, disability, and long-term disability payments for
came-
July,
came
August,
from
September, October.
Time.
Yes.
Thank you.
I do recall looking and seeing a few things on the warrants. Does anybody want to start off on warrants?
If I could just go back, I noticed substitutes are down as a percentage. Is that because our staff is healthier, or we're still having trouble finding substitutes to come in?
Spending's about the same. We increased the budget, so that throws the percentages off.
Okay.
Okay, anything else in the reports? I'll kick off, while you're looking, I'll kick off, unless you had some. Warrants, page 4 of 17. It's more curiosity, I guess, than anything. There's 16,390 for district software. Just curious what that software is for, and is that a one-time payment?
It is an annual payment, I believe
Yeah,
that's.
I'm sorry, I didn't say where it was. It's near the top of the
It's
page.
Amplify?
Amplify, yeah.
I don't know if I remember exactly what that software is. Let me see if I have Amplify is. Don't have any notes on exactly what that was.
You could always get back to it.
Yeah, I'll let
Yeah.
you know what that one was.
Yeah, that's fine. Page 5, near the bottom, CDW, for 65, about 6,500, solar wind service desk. Is that for service, is that for?
It's a
for
help
like
desk for
help
IT.
desk service
Yeah, so-
contract?
Yeah, so it provides a help desk so people could submit tickets and,
And SolarWinds is the actual
It's the-
software or application?
yes,
Okay. I know who CDW was.
yes.
I knew that, but I was curious what the SolarWinds service desk was, so that's the service contract. Okay. I'm gonna skip to page 7. Small amount, at the very bottom, fireplace for SMORE renewal district software. I think I was probably more attracted to the name on SMORE renewal, and it said Fireplace Inc. I'm just
Yeah.
curious what that is.
SMORE
It's
is,
software for a newsletter that they use at the elementary
yeah,
schools.
it's,
Well, fantastic, thank you.
thank you.
Veronica.
It is, newsletters for teachers.
Yeah, there you go, okay, well, that answered that quick, okay. That was easy. Yeah, for some reason I had a lot of questions on the warrants, but they're all, you know, page 10 near the bottom. Max Scholar 14,340. It's for reading training. I think my question is more, is the reading training for students? Is it a software? Is it a person
No,
training?
it was training 12 staff members
Okay.
for Orton Gillingham reading program.
Okay. I won't call it out, but there were a couple that were, it wasn't just the bottom one there. Well, I mean, it's not a big deal. It's the neuro eval. There were a few of them that came through, and this one particularly being 8,500. Is that for, are those for one particular student, or is that for a group of students, or is that, and it says October 24, so it's for a month.
Yeah, so it's not
is it
usually
for
a month.
Usually service for a bunch of students, or is it?
I believe that one was for a couple students.
Okay.
They usually run $3,000-4,000 each.
Okay.
We put October because that's probably when the report was received, but I'm sure it was over a much longer period than just one month.
That answers the question on a couple of others too, because I'm sure it's probably for multiple students. But I saw neuro eval, and I'm not questioning the need. I'm just questioning, is it for multiple students or one? And I think that's it. That's all I have. Anybody else have anything on warrants?
A question about one warrant on the last page. It was for Yale University School of Medicine tuition. Is that an outplacement to
It's
Yale University School of Medicine?
Cedarhurst School,
Okay.
but the billing goes through Yale.
Oh, okay. So that is an outplacement?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, once you see tuition, it's.
Yeah, it usually is.
Yeah.
It is occasionally could be in-hospital tutoring,
Okay.
but usually if it's that, you will see a slightly different description.
Probably been there many times. Probably just the first time I noticed it.
Okay. Anybody?
I
Jeff,
just
go
noticed
ahead.
special services is up. Is that a function of more students? I mean, I know it's more students in-house, but it's just running higher than it was at this time last year.
Yeah,
so.
it's some timing issues of when we receive bills, and then more in-house students require more services.
Right. And then right above it, legal's a little higher than where it was at this time last year. Is that a trend that you're going to forecast? I know
Some of it, a little bit of it is some Title IX cases, a little bit is some negotiations that we had going on. We just finished 2 contracts. One we settled, one went through we have a tentative agreement with another one, so we had 2 negotiations that were going on, so there was some labor, legal as well.
Okay. Great, thanks.
Anything further on report warrants? There's 4 sets of meeting minutes. After reading them all, was interested in the operations budget input, that the October 16th public input on the budget. So I didn't count how many, but it looks like about 10 to a dozen people spoke, which is good. Get their input. With, of course, it was mentioned a couple times, there'll be additional input, chances for public input in January, end of January. I think it's the 27th and 28th. But that gives us a sense of what some of the community members who spoke would like to see addressed. I'm sorry? Yeah, and that's even nicer to see students coming out and advocating. So.
Yep. And so they've historically done well, right? Like we hear from the students, and it seems to have a pretty good effect on whether or not something makes it to the budget.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So yeah, we'll say it here again. We encourage all of the community members to come and talk to us about what it is that they would like included, because we do our best. That's our job, to kind of hear from the community and translate that as best we can into the budget.
Yes. Yes, agreed. Anything else in the minutes?
On the last set.
Sure, go ahead. The workshop? Yep.
I noticed that they now have, or perhaps have always had, personal finance staffing at the high school. Is that directed at the students?
Yes, it's a state mandated class.
New state requirement.
It's a new graduation requirement.
It's a new graduation requirement.
They modified the mastery mandate and have finance as part of it instead of a full year, it's a semester of mastery and a semester of finance.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the structure of it, I just know that it's a state mandated course.
Good.
It
It's a graduation requirement.
Good.
Well, part of
Because
the
of current
public
sophomores, I
comments
think.
were that the times it's being offered don't necessarily match up with what works for the maximum number of students, so.
We've had a few people want to take it freshman and sophomore year, and it's really a graduation requirement. So some of the folks that we've heard from, make great points where they're saying this needs to be available sooner, but it's tricky to try to find teachers for that right now. It's a new program, so we're trying to do our best to make sure that that's available to juniors and seniors first, and then some of the underclassmen if available. So we're aware of it.
I know the last couple of years it was ARPA money, but Junior Achievement reached out into the community and they brought in locals to teach some of this stuff. So I was just curious about who, this is temporary staffing or just consultants or one-offs, or are they trained teachers, or who's doing it? Who's providing this?
It was our teaching staff.
Your own, okay.
Yeah, and there's a number of certifications that are eligible to teach this, so it could be a variety, but they're trying to figure out the scheduling and how to offer this to more students.
And I remember that the state just expanded the credentials, right, for who might be available, so that hopefully more of our staff members fall under the allowables in terms of who can teach it. Like it used to maybe be just math, and now it's a handful of other subject specialties are now going to be able to teach this class, so hopefully that allows us to expand it further as well.
So it's existing teachers, existing certified staff that are being looked at to teach it. Great. Okay. I almost forgot to mention something about tuition, the tuition report you sent this afternoon. Anything you want to bring to our attention on tuition?
There's only a minor change from last month. We only have 3 students at the sound school, so I modified the estimate for the sound school down to $20,469. Everything else was pretty much the same. So right now we're still under budget, $447,000, but like I've said before, it's still very early and things can change very quickly with this. But right now we are in very good shape.
Right.
And obviously, some of this savings is going to offset the additional special services cost.
Right. Great.
And paraprofessionals and everything else.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else for Linda or Kristen for Board of Ed? Okay, thank you both.
Thank you.
I'll entertain a motion to accept the report of expenditures in October 2024 for the Board of Education in the amount of $5,525,504.89.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, recusals. Thank you very much, Kristen. Thank you very much, Linda.
Good night, everyone.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
You too.
Okay. Item number 5, review and approve the report of expenditures for town government for October 2024. Good evening, Mary Jane.
First of all, I'd like to thank the members of the Board of Finance that were able to join us this morning into the afternoon for our capital budget presentations. Spent most of the day at Town Hall, but we got through them all, so thank you. Please put on your calendar January 14 and 15. Those are the days that we are expecting to have our operating budget presentations. So hopefully you'll be able to join us then as well.
Both starting at 8:30 somewhere.
8:30 on the 14th, the 15th is at 10 a.m.
What she said.
8:30 on the 14th.
Thank you. Okay, the rest of it I know. Okay. Great. Thank you for that.
Okay.
Revenue.
All right. Get right into it. Okay.
Right.
So as of the end of October, we are 33% through our year. Our revenue is at 53.6%, just slightly less than where we were at this time last year. All of our departments are approximately where we expect them to be. You'll note that the selectman is out selling more equipment, so we have some revenue there. Town clerk clearly is having some exceptional sales. They've been bringing in some good revenue. They're over 50%. Finance is at about 50%. Obviously, every month our revenue kind of goes down until we get another influx of money in January from taxes, and then have the same flow for the second half of the year. The golf course is at 60% of their revenue, thanks to the wonderful weather, and obviously we're halfway through November with good weather, so we're anticipating November being another good month for them. Otherwise, like I said, all of our departments are about where we expect them to be at this time, so unless you have any specific questions.
It was good to see the town clerk, finance, and fire trending above budget on those. I think at least one of them, I can't remember, or maybe it was two that we actually increased.
Oh, well, yeah,
revenues.
you almost doubled my finance one,
yeah.
So.
And you're at 50%.
Yeah.
33. So, I mean, that's good to see.
Yeah, so we've adjusted a lot of the budgets up and down based on
right.
Based on historical actuals.
Is that revenue from the clerk coming in from real estate conveyance taxes?
Much of it is recording fees. I can see that their conveyance taxes are themselves alone are at 55% in already. Yep.
Okay.
Licenses,
that's
permits.
A big percentage.
You can see the detail on the next page. Where that's coming from, but primarily recording fees and conveyance taxes.
Temporary liquor licenses.
We don't specifically have that as a line item, but.
We don't see that breakdown, but.
I just happen to know.
That speakeasy business.
We had a beer tasting.
No comment.
Anything else? Yes, good outlook right now. Anything else on revenue? Okay, we'll go to expenses then.
On the expenditure side, similar story, a little bit higher, 38% this year, as opposed to last year, 36.3%. You will see, we did talk about golf being 60% in on their revenue. They are already 52.4% spent. Obviously, we have, they'll be having their dormant months coming up, and then picking that back up in the spring. But obviously, with the influx of revenue comes the outflow of expenditure on the other side. So you see that?
But included in that is an encumbrance of $13,000. So
correct.
That bumps it up a little more, but the point still stands, though.
Correct. Yep. I'd like to note that the capital is currently overdrawn. We did find an error in a purchase order posted to the wrong account, so that's been corrected, and you won't have that for November.
That takes care of that question I had.
Okay. That's what I like to do.
Well,
answer the question before you ask it.
Well, and the thing is, usually there's a large encumbrance maybe that comes with it, but that wasn't the encumbrance in capital isn't that big. So
right. Well, when I first saw it, I thought when I first saw that it was overdrawn, my first thought was, well, we've had some expenses out of the committed fund balances that maybe hadn't been transferred,
right.
Obviously haven't been transferred over, but when I looked at it closer, we did find a purchase order just posted to the wrong account.
Just for December?
Yes.
Okay.
For November, yep.
Anything else
Any
on
other
expenses
questions
then?
Just curious, I kind of thought the register of voters line would be a little higher maybe because of early voting, but it doesn't seem that much higher.
It hasn't come in.
No, but that's a good point. Well, it is
Is it?
It is higher than last year. We don't have all of the days in because that would be reflected in November. But we do, so when you see this in November, if you remember for calendar year 2024, we received a grant from the state for $10,500. We are applying that to this year's election, so it won't be as high as maybe we had expected because of that, but it is higher, 27%, as opposed to the 18% last year. But we do have, another week of early voting for November also to have in there.
Also, a fair amount of that stuff comes in through the town clerk too. They get a lot of the
Yeah,
ballots and all that kind of thing too.
They handle the absentee ballots, but they were able to manage that this year. We did not have any overtime for them. They did an exceptional job managing, because of the early voting, people had so much more opportunity to come in to vote. I don't know the numbers, but I know in many towns absentee voting numbers were down because of that. I don't specifically know if that was here, but we were able to manage it.
I think we're in the 600s for absentee, and early voting was over 8,500.
So it's either way, we were able to handle it in that office.
It's a group effort. It's good to
Yep.
see.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see if there's a shift next year, because the question on no excuse absentee voting passed. So there may be some kind of shift in that regard. I don't know how far in advance you can vote absentee voting, but once the ballots are printed, but I think the window is longer than the two weeks that were afforded for the early voting. So that might be somewhat of a swag when we come to figure out what the impact's going to be for next year.
Is there a little bit of a story behind the health department line numbers? Looks like part-time salary, overtime maybe?
We have grants that we apply to those that we do more on a quarterly, sometimes half a year basis, depending on when the funding comes in. So there will be offsets against that. Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Because when we budget for those numbers, we do anticipate receiving those grant funds. So the budget is adjusted for that, but we haven't received the funds yet.
I was curious if they're busy. I think it was putting in the septic data. Maybe my brain is not working today.
The WPCA work? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're busy doing that, yes.
Okay.
But I think the overage is due to the fact that the grant money hasn't yet come in.
All right.
Anything else on expenses? Special fund warrant. Anything on that? Regular warrants. All these are dated November 18th. I had one I highlighted, page 9. I'll be darned, I'm trying to remember exactly why I highlighted. But it was Tyler Technologies. There were a number of them. It totaled 16,000. Energov.
Yes, those are all expenses for the Energov program that's going into Town Hall South.
That's the online permitting system.
Oh yeah, no, yep, no, I know what it is, but I had a note next to it with.
Yeah, we have a consultant that we're using.
I think my question was, is that how many times is that paid a year? Is that a one time? Is that an annual, or is that as needed?
It's as needed. As you can see on the one,
yeah.
It was for services from 10:15. It was only for 3 days.
Right.
So
it's training.
It's as needed.
Oh,
yep.
I know what. Okay. So for how many people is that training?
Depends. Some of it is customized by each individual department.
Based on what they need.
Right.
Okay.
It could be all the admins, or it could be any particular department over there.
Okay. That was where my question was. It was how many people was that addressing in terms of training? But it's based on customization or based on
Yeah, this particular training,
Okay.
I don't know.
Or one person, which that wouldn't be
Most likely not one person for this. It's
for purposes of backup and making
right,
sure people know.
right.
Okay.
It'd at least be the whole department.
Okay.
A good portion of that work is on the development side, helping our team actually create and build the permits. So that's
So it's working with them to develop the process in the system. Okay.
Yeah,
That
almost
answers
the
it.
behind-the-scenes setup of the program.
Okay. Anybody else have anything on warrants? Weekly warrants also. Otherwise, I will move to, oh, nope, there was one thing as I kept on scrolling because there, you know,
Just got out of it.
it's no, it's page 43. Beta Group, Pavement Management Services.
Beta Group is a company we're using to do a full management plan of all of our roads. It'll tell us, it'll grade all of our roads and let us know which ones need more attention. So it's a company that we hired to do this for us. Beta is the name of the software.
I think we heard a little bit about, or, well,
You heard a little bit about that
this morning.
today. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, for the
That's what this is.
$10,450, is that for that work, that study, or is it multiple payments of that?
It's going to be multiple payments.
Okay, I was going to say, wow, that's a bargain. No, I mean seriously, 10,000 to do a study of our roads.
Right.
Based on, okay. All right. Yeah, I was wondering how many roads that was addressing when I saw pavement.
I
So,
believe it's
but that's-
all
Yep.
all roads.
Yep, it's a full-out study, so, okay,
Yeah.
great. Anything else? I did, sorry I made you go back in there.
It's okay. Only took a second.
No, I know, you're quick. Medical.
On the medical, the month of October was almost where we expect it to be for our annual basis. It was $1,032,000, and we estimate $1,091,091 monthly. We are currently showing a deficit anticipated in the medical, which we typically don't have at this early stage of the year. But if you remember, for the months of July and August, we did have some last-minute bills come in that really were last year's. So surplus we had in last year, we're eating into a little bit of that early on. Normally at this time, we are lower than our monthly numbers because our employees are paying their deductibles. Once those deductibles are met, then the town starts to cover more costs. So this is going to be an anomaly year for us. You'll also see that stop loss, we've caught up our payments for stop loss in the month of October. If you remember, we were waiting for credits due to us from our July payment before we paid the rest of them, but those came through in October, so we have paid July through October, and we're on track to pay monthly moving forward.
But just to note, that skews the total number, because that $351,000 should be divided up over the previous 2 months as well.
Correct.
In terms of if it was on time.
We didn't pay anything in
Right.
August and September.
Correct.
Right, so it was a 3-month catch-up, so.
Correct, it's a catch-up.
The
That's what
1.4
I'm saying,
million
right.
total is skewed a bit,
Or-
largely because of that.
Correct, if you look
catch-up.
at that total amount, yeah.
Right.
Correct. On catastrophic claims, we have $1.7 million, over $75,000, made up of 12 members already. And we have $220,000 covered, over $150,000 of stop loss for only 4 members. So those numbers are up from last month, a little bit higher than we normally see at this time. I mean, that 12 is...
That's what I was going to ask.
Yeah. Hopefully that will not be the trend the rest of the year. Granted, stop loss will cover those expenses, but I just hate to see so many people reaching that, as that number goes up, that means we have people with extraordinary health issues that I don't like to see. So as I said, we are anticipating at this point, projecting a deficit of about $130,000 in the fund balance for the medical. And I'll just remind you that at the bottom, we are tracking just the vision coverage because that $35,000 credit from Anthem is, we're hoping to have that carry for 3 years so that the town doesn't have any cost for the vision, and that is the town and the Board of Ed, as with everything on the medical fund.
Okay, any questions on medical? All right. Any questions in general for Mary Jane before she steps away? All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve the report of expenditures in October 2024 for town government in the amount of $3,460,037.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed, abstentions, recusals? Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, item number 6, consider and take possible action on the 2025 meeting schedule. Everybody took a look at that. That includes regular meetings as well as budget meetings. I know in past years we saw a couple of small conflicts with dates and holidays, but not this time. I didn't see any.
I mean, if you're Irish, there is one.
Yeah, there is one, but it's not a national holiday here.
No.
That's all. Yeah, and just the note on, as always, is almost always is the case. Well, definitely on Tuesday, January 21st. That will not be Monday because of Martin Luther King Day, and February 13th is because that's where Thursday. That's where we're going to hear the budget presentations. So. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2025 Board of Finance meeting schedule as presented.
So moved.
And second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Committee reports, building permit report. I did note that we've kind of done this reversal of what we used to see. The single-family building permits is starting to rise, starting to take a trend up, which is good to see. I know that I'm going to go to number 8 and old business, although registrar of voters stipends and the subcommittee that was created really probably should have been under committee reports. I was the one who said put it under old business, so it works either way. So under registrar of voters stipends, I just wanted to indicate that we did form a subcommittee, myself, Jonathan Trotta, and Veronica Wallace. We did not meet yet. After we met in October, then it was the craziness of election. I chose not to bother Lisa or Gloria during that time because they owe us some information. And then it's my understanding that Veronica and myself were both away last week. So I'm going to request information from the registrar of voters over the next day or two. And then I will set up meetings, most likely with our subcommittee. I will do that after the Thanksgiving holiday. So just be aware of that week after. And I'll contact Veronica and Jonathan. I'll contact both of you for best times and days.
Sounds good.
Okay, so. And then under item number 9, new business, appointment of subcommittee to oversee the RFP submissions for auditing services. 'Tis the season. Mary Jane, do you have anything to share with us prior to us discussing and appointing a subcommittee?
No, as you know, our 5-year contract is up with CLA. The June 30, 2024 audit is the last one in that contract. So we've known we're going out to bid. I have the bid sitting on my desk. I just need to update some numbers. We're hoping to get that out in December and to, receive bids back early in 2025 so that we can make that appointment in time. I'm just hopeful that we receive some bids.
So that was my question. What are you hearing from your contemporaries about what the landscape looks like?
Not good.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get at least one.
Well, that's reassuring.
I'm hoping that I guess maybe I shouldn't say, but I'm hoping that bidders that have bid for us before would do so again because,
We're delightfully working.
Well, that's what I would have said.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I mean, we're in
Our
good
house is in
standing,
order.
our house is in order.
There just
It's an
aren't a lot of
opportunity.
companies out there, and because of that, companies are not bidding on new clients. That's the problem. There's, they can't take on more than they can do since they all have to be done at the same time. I think there's at least one town, maybe two in Connecticut that has a different fiscal year. But they all have to be done at the same time. So it's not something that they can spread out.
Right.
So they can't take on more than they can handle, which is why we aren't receiving bids.
So just to be clear, the RFP needs to go out or is out?
It hasn't gone out yet.
It hasn't
no.
gone out. You've got a couple things you need to do with it.
Correct.
And it will go out in December.
The goal is to go out in December and have returns early in 2025, yes.
Okay. And then that decision needs to be made by, I'm just
Well,
timing wise.
90 days.
90 days before the,
So it's
June, May, April, before April 1st.
Before April 1st. I was doing the math too, April 1st. Okay, that's okay. Well, with that, I'm just going to ask who would like to serve from the Board of Finance. I guess we'll get three people on the subcommittee who'd like to serve. Megan?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Jeff?
Yep.
Anybody else?
It's my busy season, but yeah,
You'd like to be on that?
if you don't mind.
I don't.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. So our subcommittee will be Mr. Hartman, Mr. Beatty, and Ms. Scanlon. Mrs. Scanlon. Whichever. All right.
Do you expect that our current auditors will submit?
I am anticipating our current auditors to bid, yes.
I think it would be foolish for them not to. I mean, but you never know on these things. Listen, I work with a firm that does works public bids all the time. You never know what's going to come up. You don't know if you're going to be the only one. There's going to be 10. Pretty much should know on this one that it's not going to be 10, but you don't know who's posturing, for more work or repeat work. So.
Well, 5 years ago, I was shocked we only had a couple. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now I'm going to be happy to receive one, to be honest with you. We have to do this.
Yeah,
So it's not an option to have an audit or not. It's required. So.
Right. All we can do is go out and see what comes back. So, okay.
We
Great.
we can send the invitation to bid out to companies that we're aware of, so that at least be sure that they know.
Oh, that's a good point. You would do that.
We're allowed to do that,
You
yes.
can do that, yeah.
I know I sent you one in August, but I can resend
Can
it.
you do that again?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair for any Board of Finance member to bring it to Mary Jane's attention. If there's someone that, a firm or company that we'd like to have look at it and possibly, entertain a bid.
Yeah, we do that with almost all of our bids, send the invitation out to firms that we're aware that do that particular type of service.
It's public bid, so anything goes. It's not
Right.
not a private bid, so it's public. You
Right.
can do that. Just can't go to bat for.
This is, I've got to point out, this is as opposed to
GFOA has
pension
a list
committee,
of
when we have to go out and look for financial advisors. They read the minutes and they contact us. We don't even need to go out to them. They all come. They go to the town website, look at the minutes and see who's up for renewal. and it's quite competitive.
Interesting. Well, investments, auditing,
And the auditing's getting harder and harder and harder with all
Yeah.
of the new rules that they have every year. It's, it's difficult on it's more difficult on their end sometimes than on our end.
Bless you.
That's what they're telling us.
Okay. Item number 10, public forum. Okay. Prior to asking that famous question, I'd like to wish my colleagues, everybody here, everybody in the Guilford community, everybody on screen, Veronica, that's you, a very happy Thanksgiving. Be safe, enjoy your families, and we'll see you in December. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry, there's one thing. If we just put under new business, just a reminder for our board that we will be meeting before our December regular meeting with the joint Board of Education meeting on the budget. That is going to be at 6:30, right in the room next door. So 6:30 on the 16th, same night as our regular meeting. Whew. I almost forgot to say that, but that's important. We all need to be there. Okay, now I'll entertain that motion.
Move we adjourn?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone.
Happy holiday to you.
Thanksgiving all.
You too, Veronica. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Amy.
Happy birthday.
Yay! You might get some. You might get some cake left.
Thank you.